Okay, what I've done first of all, instead of walking up to the front of the church and start taking all these, what we call the altar return photographs, I'm going to, as I walked into this church, I say, boy, it's a magnificent location. Let's just start where it looks magnificent, which is here in the back of the church. We're just going to run through, as I say, several different locations here at the church, see how many we can pull off in the time that we're allotted here today. Probably the easiest one to start off with is the bride near the back of the back of the church, near the back pews. I'm going to turn her shoulders away from camera this way, and then I'm going to bring her head back this way just a bit. And I have my light coming in from the left-hand side, which is going to give me my famous loop lighting pattern on the subject. So, Megan, let me have you go ahead and turn this way just a bit more. And, of course, I'm just going to just frame her up right here. And this is not going to be the good photograph, but when I look at it, we got beautiful lighting coming in here. I think that looks really, really good. Aaron, we'll let you back up just a little bit more. I'm getting just a little flare. Perfect. But our lighting pattern looks fine on the subject. But we covered this in one of the early training videos, and it's really the positioning of the horizon line. Training video number 2, as a matter of fact. So the first thing you want to do is don't stand up here. Get down on the ground so that we can lower that horizon line behind our subject. So way down here, I always find myself sitting on the ground. I'm shooting a really wide-angle lens, my 10 to 22 millimeter lens, to kind of take all this in and everything. Megan, turn your head just a little bit more. Just relax shoulders and everything. Flowers behind you again. We want the flowers slightly behind the gown so we don't throw the shadow of the flowers across the gown. So with them back just a little bit, it'll just put the shadow right up against the gown and we won't really see them at all. So here we go again. I'm going to crop on in here, frame the bride up where I think would look best. Our horizon line is down around her knees right now, and I think that's looking pretty nice. Megan, turn just a bit more for me. Chin down a little bit more. Look right over my head. I have her look over my head because it opens up. It's what it puts expression in the eyes, is I guess the best way to say it. If she's looking right at me, the eyelids want to come over the eyeballs just a bit, and they don't have near the life. And if she just looks like about 12 inches over my head, the eyelids tuck back in the eyes just a little bit more, and the eyes just seem to come alive. We need to have expression both in the mouth and in the eyes, and that's why I have them look just slightly above my head. Let's go ahead and do it again. Turn your head just a bit, chin down a bit, perfect. No smile, looks great. And again, I'm just framing her up against some of the stained glass windows we have back there. Going wide. Good, good, good. And we've got just a bunch of them right here, but let's go ahead and change focal length. I'm going to ask for my 24 to 105 lens. I'm going to stay right where I am. I'm just going to change everything just by changing the focal length on her so I can come in a little bit tighter. Thank you. That was the ever-elusive LaDon, my wife, who was the assistant's hand in that last photograph, by the way. So anyway, here we go again, coming in a little tighter. And perfect, perfect. Now what's going on here is I have those stained glass windows above her head just a bit, and I think I don't want to, since I'm this low, I think I want to get a little bit higher, and let's put the stained glass windows over her head and put some nondescript, or let's say some less bright areas behind her head, and I think I can focus viewers' attention, your attention, more on her face when we see that finished photograph. So I'm just getting just a little bit higher here, and I don't want the church pieces popping out of her head either, so I think right there. Megan, turn your head just a little bit more. And framing her up right there. Good, happy again. And since I'm not too worried about horizon lines, I think we get a really pretty photograph. I'm going to go just a little bit higher because I'm still seeing some of that stained glass window come in the top. And let's see if I come just a bit higher here and just isolate on her, which means backing up. Remember in some other segments we talked about long lenses, compressing that background. That's what I'm doing right here. Megan, turn your head. Just perfect. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And again. Good. And then when we look at these photographs right here, they are looking mighty darn pretty. You know, we've just kind of worked through the whole thing. You watch the evolution of the shot come about. So full length, lower the horizon line. When I went in tighter on her, I went ahead and I tried to back up. I'm now sitting at about 100 millimeters on my lens right here, which really compresses it and opens up that background for my bride right here. So why don't we do one more thing? Let's take our little background flash. And this little flash right here is handy dandy. It's about $25. You can get it from B&H. You can actually hit digitalprotalk.com. You can search the blog for Mini Slave, and guess what? I'll give you 3 sources of these things. They sure don't break the bank, but what they do is really light up the veil too. So I'm going to turn it on, and it's a kind of a line of sight electric slave here, and you've got the sensor right here in front. What I love about it is that it has this little foot right here, so instead of laying just flat on the ground, you can actually put it up like that, and you can actually kind of give it an angle into the gown. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to ask LaDon just to put that, about 10 feet or so, 12 feet behind the bride. And the thing is, if I was just using on-camera flash, which so many people do, well, the line of sight, I've got the bride behind the flash unit and my flash here. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But since I'm such a big fan of off-camera lighting, off-camera flash lighting, I've got Erin right over here. Well, her flash can see that flash. And let's go ahead and just take another couple photographs and see what they look like with the additional light on the background right here. Okay, here we go again. And now you can see how pretty the light is. Just that little wink of light behind her just lights up the veil. I think it's important to point out that she has so many layers of veil here. I can use that whole flash, that little bitty flash. Sometimes if there's only one layer of the tooling material, it lights it up a little bit too much, and I might even take a handkerchief and just cover it up just to cut it down just a teeny little bit. But because we have so many layers of tooling here, I think just the total amount of light coming out of it just gives us a really, really pretty look. And you can see that it did in that last photograph. While we're here, why don't we do a quick full-length photograph of her. I'm going to keep the same lens. I'm just cranking back to 24 millimeters and see what I get here. So again, instead of just running through a whole series of poses and asking Kristen to come in and stand next to our bride, I'm not really going to do that, because this is more about composition, I guess. Finding the locations whereby we can really position our subjects for the different photographs. So I'm going to let you, in your own imagination, figure out, okay, well, I would bring the groom in here, I would do this and that and everything else. That's fine, but it's still the same space that we're talking about. What I want to do is move on to several other spaces and just see how many different spaces we can really capture here in Sacred Heart to give you guys and girls an idea of just how you might then play upon all the different locations. So that's the thing. Let's look at our spaces first, see how many spaces we can find here to create some really cool images.